Hello, it's the Redeye Stream number 90. Trade war on the horizon? I don't know. MC, you tell us.
Do I think a trade war is on the horizon? You bet there is. There's a major trade war on the horizon because Trump's going to push this through. Now, you got to remember, a lot of these things are still within the purview of Congress to a point. Okay? But when it comes to the United States, the vast majority of the United States is no longer in manufacturing. The biggest things are in service related professions. All right. Most of our manufacturing, all right, has left the United States for overseas. Car manufacturers, for the most part, GM has been, and Ford, etc., have been building major plants down in Mexico. All right. Same thing, and they've also been going to Canada.
Fucking A.
What?
Sorry, continue.
So, from a manufacturing base, all right, all those jobs have left. This has impacted certain regions, obviously, far more than others. That's one of the reasons why they call it the Rust Belt, right? Other things have happened as well, not the least of which is a lot of environmental regulations have inhibited the United States from digging in certain areas. Certain individuals, we won't name Obama, would just unwilly-nilly just declare areas off limits for mining, off limits for drilling, anything that would actually create economic power for the United States. Okay, so what you have is a massive trade imbalance with other countries that are taking that are doing the manufacturing and sending the goods into the United States. Meanwhile, what does the rest of the world do with the limited manufacturing that the United States actually does do? Okay, if you try to sell a car, for example, in Europe, good friggin' luck. All right, the taxes for exporting U.S. cars to Europe is extraordinary. Same thing with Japan. Same thing with China. Same thing with Korea. All these manufacturing areas around the world that have all these heavy manufacturing areas tax the holy crap out of our goods. The only thing that they somewhat limit they're somewhat limited at doing is they don't tax our food products as much, which food manufacturer, the United States is the #1 food manufacturer in the world. That's very true. All right. As far as export and stuff, we're I think either second or first #1 country exporter of rice. Okay, we export wheat, we export corn, we export beef all over the world. But even then, in Europe, they will sit up there and tax U.S. beef at a higher rate than they'll tax things like South American beef, like Argentina and so forth.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is a tariff on aluminum and steel, which we need to keep our manufacturing bases here in this country.
Okay.
We're importing steel, so it's actually going to turn out to hurt the manufacturing base of our economy, is it not?
No, because you got to remember, why don't we produce steel here in the United States? The reason is because of the ridiculous regulations and so forth that the Obama administration and several other administrations, to be frank, right, placed on the production of steel, the mining of iron ore, etc. Once you start removing those restrictions, okay, then what do you need to worry about with that? All right, then all of a sudden, U.S. steel, U.S. mining becomes far more profitable.
Mm-hmm.
We have plenty of resources here in the United States.
Is the president going to do that simultaneously, or is he going to initiate this tariff, let the manufacturing economy kind of flounder for a minute? That way he has an excuse to take away some of these regulations and free up some of the economic...
He is already doing it simultaneously, right? There's another aspect that I hadn't gotten to about why manufacturing left the United States. And that was...
sorry, I have to add, we have to also keep in mind that Trump isn't always every day from the moment he wakes up playing 6D shoots and ladders. I mean, I mean, some things do happen on a kind of a on a level that could be considered coincidences.
That may be true, but I don't think it's a coincidence of what he's doing now, what he's been doing. Not in this arena. Okay. For example, one of the other reasons why the United States has lost a lot of manufacturing jobs, right, is simply because it became the taxes on U.S. corporations were so freaking high that those corporations were leaving. It made more sense in a lot of ways for them to leave the United States and do the manufacturing overseas. Why? Because if you produced in the United States with the taxes that they would hit you with, it was more expensive. Just by reducing the taxes on the corporation tax, the corporate taxes, that manufacturing base has a reason to come home. Now, with these tariffs, you're not only giving them an incentive to come home, you're showing them also, if you take that risk, you're going to be protected. Now, it isn't just aluminum and steel that Trump has been talking about. If you listen to him, he's included car manufacturers. Now, many car manufacturers, such as Toyota, they got smart about this a long time ago. Toyota learned very quickly that if it wants to compete within the United States, it's vulnerable, all right, to being hit with tariffs, all right. For example, people forget this, but during the Reagan administration, Toshiba freaking screwed up big time, all right, and sold million machines to the Soviet Union. All right, this was against our export license, and it was against the rules that we had set up there and sent for them. As a result, Toshiba was banned from the United States.
I didn't know that. That's actually fucking hilarious.
And believe it or not, Toshiba only today is starting to recover. All right, they had been hit that hard. They virtually Toshiba products virtually disappeared from the U.S. market. All right, almost overnight. In less than 2 years, you didn't see any product from Toshiba.
Wow.
Okay, so to say that tariffs won't work. Now, Trump is also playing another game. All right, he's trying to redo NAFTA. Okay, this is one of the major things that when he talks about aluminum and steel manufacturing is the base of Canada. Okay. Canada can't afford a trade war with the United States if we ban aluminum and steel. They can't afford it. Their economy is already teetering, and their prime minister is busy friggin' dancing in India. So I don't think when you're trying to renegotiate NAFTA and you're trying to play hardball, these are the kind of tactics you come up with. Now, you also got to take a look at what happened with this. Trump set up there and initially, like Mad Dodge pointed out, he mentioned aluminum and steel. All right, this was a specific, warning shot to Canada. More than anything else, it was a warning shot across Canada's bow. So what happens? The Europeans start speaking up. Whoa, you can't do that. That's wrong. You'll interfere with us. Oh, really, Europe? Like, you can't be hurt? You take a look at the amount of car manufacturing that's sold in the United States, all right, and you want to sit up there and think that our small number of products that we sell overseas is going to sit up there and bother Trump when he sits up and says, you know what, we'll slap you with a major tariff? No, and I say this, all right, knowing that I work for a European company. If Trump does this, the company I work for is going to be have hell to pay in the United States.
Well, I would like to ask a question, though. If the fact that you can get cheaper steel and make the cars in other countries was really that much of a factor, why was the city where I grew up in pretty much the #1 city for the manufacturer of RVs? Country Coach, Marathon, Monaco, Winnebago now has a plant in Junction City. They're all building their RVs in America, but you know what they are doing?
That's because
they are importing their
an RV is so much higher than it is to ship a car.
Yeah, but
you also had a community. The community
they're importing their steel. They're importing their aluminum. And go ahead, memes. I just wanted to point that out. Relying on these imports, this tariff will affect the one sector of the economy that's actually doing pretty good At least where I grew up, here in Oregon.
What is the net effect detrimentally or positively? Like how much? Go ahead.
Well, when the RV industry crashed about 15 years ago and Country Coach went under, the whole economy for the city I went to high school in collapsed. Now Winnebago moved back, Marathon is up and running again, and the economy is just now starting to grow again in that area of Lane.
When did they open?
Winnebagos and RVs is that they're luxury items. Luxury items, all right, are not a major sector of the United States.
It's a very high elasticity of demand. Basically, there can be a higher variance in it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there are a lot of these luxury vehicle goods, boats, RVs, and shit, already taxed at a much higher rate than a car.
They are, but to be fair, there is a huge aftermarket, and it is one of those things. Because I remember my Spanish teacher back in like the 8th grade. He told us he went in. They had the $60,000 RV. He's like, I'll give you $38,000 cash right now. He's like, no. He went in 3 years in a row. On the 3rd or 4th year, he got it for the $38,000.
Nice.
But there probably is a big renovation market because there are entire shows about that and stuff. And dude, let's face it, they are fucking badass.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with an RV. I'm just pointing out the fact that it's considered a luxury item.
Well, it's a mobile home, man.
I mean,
well, I'm just wondering if the tariffs are going to really impact that area of Lane County. I mean, this is my immediate area. I live here.
I understand that. I understand the concern that it can impact a certain area, but I think it's going to be more than made up for other things that go on, and the cost of aluminum. Right? If you end up in a trade war, right? First of all, if you end up in a trade war, who's going to lose out? All right. Yes, you'll have the REV manufacturers may have to increase costs, which may lower their bottom line. Right? That is a possibility. All right. How long? All right. Can Canada though deal with that? If they don't, a lot of these countries, especially Europe, Canada's bad, but Europe is worse. Mexico is really bad as well. If these countries, which have been able to produce tariff after tariff on the United States, thinks that we're going to produce a tariff on you, you're already doing it. U.S. products are frickin' banned more or less in many of these countries. It's why you can't see them competing in them. A lot of, especially the Europeans, which basically go out of their way to promote their own product within the community.
It's not like Harley Davidson has a 100% tariff in one of those countries.
So now they'll get a $200.
So your $12,000 Harley just became $25,000. Maybe I'll buy the EU model. Huh.
So
the POTUS is playing hardball. Yeah, it kind of sounds like from where I jumped in. I'm sorry to cut you off, MC. It just, like you were saying, when you're saying hardball tactics, here's the thing. Didn't President Trump give every member of Congress a copy of The Art of the Deal?
Did he seriously?
No, I do remember seeing that on TV. It was either on Fox or CNN. I can't find an internet article about it, which I find kind of strange because maybe it was a Mandela effect thing. But let's face it, it's fucking President Trump, and what's that, like 535 copies or something like that? He's fucking rich. And it's exactly something he would do. But like, if you actually read The Art of the Deal, what do? You go for a very far out there position. You end up growing somewhere back. So basically, if you get fucking 30% of what you wanted, that's probably a win, because what normally happens? Either nothing, or we get some 3,000-page thing that nobody has actually read.
Yeah, I don't think that the United States is going to lose out in a trade war, right? I mean,
dude, we can wreck those economies, dude. Like, let's face it, we are the #1 trading partner in the world.
I think this is also a shot at the bow to force China to get serious about taking care of North Korea. There's multiple levels to this.
Well, it's very interesting. When exactly these trade tariffs went in? What, like a week or two ago?
Well, they've been talked about. He actually hasn't instituted any of them.
Because I heard Carl Icahn made a few shekels, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't know if he's Jewish.
No, it's okay.
No, no. Let's face it. Here's the thing. I watched the David Pakman show, so I know what's going on. But no, he does bring up some fair points. It's like you got to listen to whatever, even if you're not the biggest fan. It's David Pakman. I respect him. He's a policy guy, which is very interesting. When you the arguments, it's just I see them arguing past the okay. You're regardless, but basically, I guess Carl Icahn. There had been talks about this, and he did slowly start to sell. I think some of the initial sales points were a few days before the trade secretary actually came out. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, does he sell this company often? Not particularly. So it just, was that insider trading? It's like, could be. I don't know. I mean, it almost sounds like one of those things that, as a special advisor to the president actually, well, it might be. I don't know.
Well, what are you talking about? If you're going to talk about insider trading,
I know it happens fucking all the time, dude. I know it happens. I get it. It's one of those things where unless something really shady is going on, it's like folks are like, well, we didn't know, no, unless they want to make an example out of you like Martha Stewart.
It's so rampant. It's so difficult to prove. To be honest, it really is difficult to prove. All right.
Well, here's the thing. He can say as special advisor, the president, or one of those meetings where there's publicly listed information, some minutes of some meeting that nobody's ever really read, saying, actually, to be fair, I think he did mention this on the campaign trail too. So, I mean, he's got plausible deniability.
Okay, so, all right. I just looked at that article because I wanted some actual numbers. You know, all we're talking about here is a 25% increase on steel and 10% on aluminum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the tariff of abominations here. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. How much, like in your particular case with the RV manufacturers in your area, Mad Dodge, how much actual steel is in an actual RV? Probably, I don't know, a ton. What is a ton of steel? Like $1,000?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say you say 10% and 20% like it's
so
nothing,
on like
really that is a lot.
A 50 to 100K item, like an extra 250, 300 bucks isn't going to break the bank.
I mean, it can be significant, all right, depending upon how your outlays are. Now, the one manufacturer that I just started laughing at was Budweiser. All right, who started complaining about how the cost of beer is going to go up because the cost of an aluminum can is going to go up to such great heights. I'm sorry.
Didn't Budweiser actually get bought off by a German company?
A Dutch company.
Oh, Dutch.
That's why I drink Coors Light typically as a very my go-to brew, I'd say. Because here's the thing, I remember when it happened. Because basically, the Dutch, whether it's Bebco or whoever it may be, basically they offered Budweiser money. Budweiser turned it down. They're like, no, we won't sell out. And then the Dutch came back with more money, and they said, thank you.
Maybe.
We'll happily sign. And then, you know what? I get that. That's business. That doesn't bother me. See, immediately after that merger and they sell out, then they launch this entire marketing campaign. Budweiser, the great American lager. I'm like, don't be fucking disingenuous.
No. You know what pisses me off about Budweiser as somebody who really likes beer? Right? They're buying up all the craft fucking microbreweries. They're buying up all the good companies and then tainting it with their crappy fucking brew.
Wasn't it a smart business thing?
I don't know, man. They just better not buy Windmere. I'll be pissed if Windmere sells out.
I was about to say, welcome to capitalism. So what are you going to be, a socialist, Matt Dodge?
I'm talking to Owen McDonald. Let's see if I can become a commie.
Are you really?
No, that was a joke.
No, are you really talking to Owen McDonald?
No, I'm not. I know you want me to, though. You want him on the show because you want to talk to him. So.
The first step in anything is just doing it. As Professor Peterson says, just do it badly.
I was going to say, I thought it was Shia LaBeouf that said just do it.
I don't think he invented it.
I think Shia LaBeouf was, you will not divide us. That's the only thing he's ever going to be known.
I like Shia LaBeouf, Transformers.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, dude. I go way back, man, to watch fucking Even Stevens, dude.
Ooh. I didn't even. MC, are you bouncing on a pogo stick?
No, I'm sharpening a knife.
Oh, do you have the Wicked Edge?
I'm trying to get one. My wife.
Oh, dude, that thing's badass.
Anyway, sorry about that.
Speaking of sharpening knives.
No, the idea that we can't sit up there and win a war, that the United States cannot win a war, a trade war, against these countries that have been basically blocking our products, right, out of their markets for decades, right, it's just silly. Now, you can point out several things. One of the things that the media is trying to point out, especially the fake news WAPO, is when Bush attempted this in 2002. Okay, he said, they came back and said, well, this costs jobs, and to an extent they're correct, but Bush never was able to sit up there and lower the tax rate either. He couldn't convince these companies to come back. That's one of the biggest coups that Trump has created, is by lowering the corporate tax rate like he's done. He's created a massive incentive for these companies to come back to the United States.
You mean he actually fixed corporate inversion like he said he would?
And now he's increasing the pressure on them to come back by simply going, well, I'm going to start throwing tariffs around. They're going to look at that and say, well, can I still exist? Look, the tax rate now in the United States is reasonable. What's more is they're saying if we got to import things, they're going to frickin' hit us with a tariff. Maybe I want to start producing things here in the United States again. Okay, so the idea that the United States can't compete in the world market, that we can't outcompete these people, that somehow, well, we're just too fat and we're too lazy and we're not hungry enough, is nonsense, and it always has been. The problem has been is that we've been hampered by our tax code and hampered by regulations that prevent a lot of this stuff. Now, if people want to complain about, especially the Greens, you want to complain about damage to the planet, okay? You want to reduce damage to the planet, okay? Well, don't you think that not allowing countries that damage the planet because they have no environmental records to speak of, all right, or environmental regulations rather to speak of, that preventing them from selling goods in the United States would be a good start in a way to actually, quote unquote, save the environment and save your precious planet the way you guys talk about?
Well, I'm surprised you took them seriously for that amount of time.
One issue at a time, MC. One issue at a time.
If you don't think that Trump won't say that at some point, you're out of your rabbit ass mind.
Well, of course, that sounds like something he'd say. He'll just use people's own words against him because he's not a Republican or a Democrat. He'll mostly like a New York Democratic Republican, but that's just Donald Trump.
He is Donald Trump, and he's not shy about playing hardball.
Yeah,
it's the big ask. The big ask, and it's just folks aren't used to this. It's like people do realize that I don't know, but it's just we did have a president at one point that literally said, yeah, here's my line. You cross this, we'll end you. And they were supposed to end us. And then one dude was like, I don't want to end the world. So, yeah, we have had ballsy presidents. So it's like, if this, it doesn't set historical precedent, like really.
We haven't had enough. I want Andrew Jackson as vice president and Donald Trump.
I honestly don't expect a trade war. I mean, I did say that at the beginning. Yeah, we'll have a trade war, but that's more hyperbole. It's just
you might see some prices spike for a short period, but it's just our economies are too interwoven. Like, here's the thing: we'd end up finding someone else, and for them to be able to get like the same quality for what they're getting, whether it's Canada, who's right fucking there, so you try shipping lumber fucking all across the world. I'm like, okay, have a good time with that. So it's like steel. It's like, well, if we're making some steel in America here, and we're going to need to buy some more of it, we're going to need to hire some more folks. So
it's not like the United States doesn't have the capability of building steel plants. It's not like the United States doesn't have plenty of iron ore assets.
Yeah. Well, it's just that the infrastructure that we had previously, like late 1800s, early 1900s, like Andrew Carnegie era, when steel was really going strong, it was American steel.
You mean when they were laying American steel in front of Buckingham Palace because we could provide the best quality product for a lower price than they could in the UK at the time?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the late 1800s we were at our prime, but one of the problems is we just don't have that infrastructure anymore. So I mean, yes, initially it's going to cause it's going to cost rather a pretty penny, but I mean, I think in the long run it would be worth it, especially if we can maintain that infrastructure and continuously outcompete the rest of the world for literally the best finer products.
Well, it's not only that, you've also got to look at the fact that it's important for the United States to be strong manufacturing wise, because if we ever do get into a real war, and I'm not talking like Iraq, I'm talking about in a serious war where the United States is on the line.
Yeah.
We'd better have the capability of producing tanks, producing ships, all right? And that's a lot of steel, and that's a lot of iron ore. And the fact is, right now, is we don't have that kind of manufacturing capability because we sold it all right, and sent all of our frickin' manufacturers overseas.
Yeah.
That includes that. It doesn't just include, steel and so forth. That also includes electronics. It's not like the United States doesn't have the technical capabilities, all right, within the United States to do these things or to manufacture these things. For crying out loud, you realize how much easier it is for the United States to build certain things like clean rooms and so forth, all right, which are critical for manufacturing of any kind of electronic component that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Our abilities far outstrip everyone else's. We could sit up there and ramp up these kinds of production lines pretty much overnight, within a year at least. All right, we could be out producing everybody.
Yeah,
you got to, and to prove my point, all right, they're expecting within 40 years, in 2020, all right, or 2022 or 23, 4 to 5 years, we will be the #1 producer of petroleum in the world.
That's not surprising.
Damn right.
Okay. Well, according to other people, they said it couldn't happen. It was just 4 years ago they were saying that that's absolutely crazy.
Now we're going to have the Keystone Pipeline and stuff.
Well, the Keystone Pipeline is Canada's oil.
Yeah.
Oh, like, are we talking production or?
We're talking production.
No, well, we're still refining it.
Will become the #1 producer of oil.
Well, did the president open up that area in Alaska?
Yes, he did. He opened up AnWar.
Well, I think he said he was going to do it, so can't complain. He was
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I hope a couple polar bears got a drill through the head as they were starting to dig.
Why does everybody think the bears? Why does everybody think that a polar bear is happy to be stuck on a frozen tundra?
Well, they swim. Like, they could be stuff. It's not like we have radars that check.
They've been known to swim literally in the ocean for over 60 frickin' miles. Yeah, they can swim, but that doesn't mean that, you know what? I really hate this warm weather.
MC, we're only 1 generation removed from Exxon Valdez.
Okay.
Let's say.
They went around oiling up otters for the sea lions and the killer whales to eat.
But the pictures, MC, it was horrible.
10 heartbreaking pictures that'll make you say we don't need borders and shit.
Well, here's the thing. Weren't they a little like disingenuous or not fully honest about what had actually happened, about how much it spilled? Wasn't it basically the same thing as like the Gulf of Mexico, where it's like, yeah, no, just a few gallons, just 300 gallons, just 3,000 gallons, just 300,000 gallons.
Well, I don't know specifically. But
first of all, there was a lot of misinformation that began right off the bat. All right, mainly because it's in the middle of nowhere. Okay,
But why didn't they just fire up Skype?
In the
Skype wasn't a thing.
What? What are you talking about? How did people communicate?
Believe it or not,
with the Donkey Express.
Why didn't they send some pictures?
the main communication that had started.
Link it on Facebook. Check in, make sure they're okay.
The main communication that people had that was becoming popular at the time were CB radios.
What?
I'm sure you don't know what a record player is either, do you? Mean? Unless you're a hipster, then you know what it is.
Dude, vinyl's the best. But here's the thing. Whether we want to admit it or not, like there are a bunch of folks like they don't remember that, or they grew up and there was always fucking Skype and shit like that. It's just like the technological leaps we've made, and it's again, I think MC, we've had this conversation before, Mad Dodge too. It's like I still remember dialing, even at one point, still having a fucking goddamn rotary phone. I mean, let me tell you, kiddies, about texting on that shit. That was a pain in the ass. Calling and asking, hey, is so-and-so home? Where are you? Where are you at? Are they home?
Do you even telegraph, bro? Let me ask
Pretty
you.
No,
yeah.
Forms of communication and how people communicated was definitely much more limited back in those days. And of course, you were beholden. You're 100% beholden to the mainstream media to tell you what was really going on. Okay, and to be honest, you never knew if what they were saying was the full story because constantly things would change. Right. With the X-Down FLDs, for example, the first question was, all right, it ran aground, it's leaking some oil. All right. Now they knew that this was a big tanker. Right, but they also knew that there was supposed to be certain safeguards and everything else that were
the response or something too. Yeah,
and so people were saying, nah, it's not a huge issue. It's not a huge issue. It's not a
Wasn't
huge
there
issue.
A storm or something that went through?
No, it was it was a freaking drunk. Well, yeah, I think there was a storm, but the fact was the skipper was drunk. Okay.
Alaska is cold.
All right. Now, whether or not that had what it did is it inhibited his decision making, and he went into an area that he shouldn't have tried.
Well, here's the important question: was he the first one diving into the lifeboats?
I have no idea. I honestly don't have an idea. The ship didn't flounder. It didn't founder. Right. It did leak because it ripped open more of the tanks, right? Than anybody had assumed was possible. It's kind of like a Titanic thing in that regard, right?
Yeah.
But the ship itself did not flounder. It did not go down. The X-Down FLDs did not sink. Okay. It did spill a lot of oil. The oil did go up. It did hit the beaches. All right. It did kill some wildlife. Did it totally devastate the region that could never recover? No. All right. So is it still something that should have happened? No, there were things in place to prevent it from happening. But what was the real reason it happened? Okay, the real reason it happened is because you don't have a pipeline from Alaska to the United States. Well, why not? Because environmentalists didn't want to build a freaking pipeline that long. Oh, it's going to go over there. What if it leaks here? What if it leaks there? Okay, well, it's the same problem with the Keystone pipeline. Well, what if it leaks? You could sit up there and pollute the Ogallala aquifer, right? Which is a major aquifer.
Wait a second. So you're saying because nobody wanted a pipeline in their backyard, we ended up spilling oil into the ocean, which poisons the water that everyone uses?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Maybe the globalists have a point?
What do you mean maybe the globalists have the point?
It's the argument. It's like, if you think about it as a planet, if we were basically, it keeps on going back to like the Independence Day principle. How do you get all folks across the world to unite? Well, you literally need someone to come down from the heavens. If that someone comes down from the heavens and happens to bind all mankind together, maybe that's a good thing. They have to come down and start blowing the shit out of the White House. You might have to band together to respond. So we need Will Smith and some Jewish guy.
What makes you think the Israelis,
wait a minute,
let
what
alone
is that?
the Palestinians, wouldn't be cheering?
What's that?
I believe most folks are good
theory?
people.
Isn't there a conspiracy theory where the government actually projects God into the sky to do just that? To bring us all together and make a one world government? What's that called? Oh.
I don't know, Vatican III?
Wait,
you guys don't know what I'm talking about?
God or UFOs?
One or the other. I mean, either
well,
one.
Actually, technically,
It doesn't
in
matter.
theory, God could be a UFO. I mean, you don't know what it is.
There's a damn conspiracy theory. I'm going to Google it real quick. You guys continue.
Okay.
Oh my god.
You can see I'm not up on every single conspiracy theory out there.
I was going to say, just bust out the bat signal. That might have more of an effect on people.
But there was a lot of NIMBY stuff that prevented the pipeline from going all the way from Alaska all the way down. All right. Now, the cost of doing something like that, the fact that you would have to go over Canada, all right, through the Canadians.
They're friendly.
Yeah, the Canadians can be friendly. They can also be dicks, right? So now, whether or not they used as much of the environmental protection crap as the rest of them. All right, prevented that pipeline because that was the initial idea, was to create a pipeline all the way from Alaska down to the lower 48 states and into the refineries in the upper north. Right?
Well, it's going downhill, so it makes sense.
Well,
Okay.
if you look at it that way, all right, no problem.
You must remember from Lord of the Rings, Treebeard did say, "It always feels easier walking south."
Project Bluebeam. I found it. Yep. Multiple holographic projections all around the world to create a new world order. It's good stuff. And NASA is the one doing it. Those evil astronauts.
It's always fucking NASA.
Amazing how much NASA's got their fingers in a pie. But that's a separate. We're not going to get into that right now. No, but so when we start talking about trade wars, when we start talking about a lot of this stuff, the United States.
At this point, we either hitchhike into space with either Russia or Elon Musk.
Okay.
No, we don't have a shuttle, man. We don't have an active shuttle program. It's kind of sad.
I know. Beams is like really wanting to bite into Project Bluebeam, but we'll stick with tariffs. Go ahead, MC.
Wait, what?
We don't have a space truck, and this bothers you?
Yes.
We don't.
What if we need to go somewhere?
We don't need a space shuttle.
Do they have delivery on the moon? Or at least at the sound stage where they
as soon as Newt Gingrich takes on as chief advisor, we will have our moon base. To be fair, was it the worst idea?
Dude, no, I fucking swear to God, right? I would fucking vote for Newt Gingrich if he would give me a fucking moon base.
He had some good ideas.
I think a moon base is far more important than people realize. And I've talked to people, and they talk about, well, if you're going to put a moon base, why not just go to Mars? And it's very simple, distance.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hell of a lot harder to go to Mars than it is to the moon, and the moon is in many ways a harsher environment. That's true. But if you can do it right and you can get it working on a moon, then you can do it on Mars.
Well, I mean, in some ways, Venus is actually a lot easier than Mars as well. Not only is it closer... Sorry?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, not only is it closer, but literally scientists have already come up with a plan for... you guys have seen Star Wars, Cloud City and everything, right? An actual, like, inflatable Cloud City that literally floats on the upper parts of the fucking atmosphere.
Because the rest of the atmosphere is so poisonous and dense, you would frickin' get crushed like a grape.
Yeah.
To be fair, if you could find a way around that to transition that atmosphere into something, because the problem with Mars right now, you don't really have any atmosphere. You do have water there, so maybe potential to generate it. But if you could convert that gas into something like not killing us, maybe into something useful, could be useful.
Yeah.
Again, technology far
speed,
away.
The wind speed in the upper atmosphere of Venus is so extraordinary. I don't see anything surviving it.
So you're saying we got infinite wind power?
You have a lot of wind power. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but did anyone else hear that greatest quote of the year?
Which one?
From memes. If we could create something useful, it would be useful.
Is that an untrue statement?
No.
If I said if we could create something useful from it, referring to said poisonous gas, it would be useful.
Yeah. Okay. Living on Venus would be like living under the oceans in the Marianas Trench.
It worked for Ariel.
Yeah, I don't think under the sea is going to be happening on Venus anytime soon.
Don't hate on that.
So you're saying we should live like lobsters?
Some folks have proposed that.
No. So anyway, back to the original thing. So the idea of a trade war, right, especially with aluminum and steel, all right, these are talking points to force the Canadians into a bargaining position. All right. Let's be honest, Canada right now is having problems economically. All right. All the wonderful things that Mr. Trudeau has been talking about are starting to have the effect that all socialist programs do, which is it starts to drain the economy. And he shows no sign, and the Canadians, of course, show no sign of coming to that realization.
But he's having a good time.
Well, he get him in a stupid whatever, African or Indian dress that you think you can put him in and let him go dancing. He needs to sit there and go talk to his uncle about how to do things.
You can't say the guy isn't.
He needs to go down and visit his uncle about how to better do things in Canada. Old Raoul.
Well, wait a second. What happens if we see a showdown between Justin Trudeau and another Canadian citizen? What happens if they end up having words?
Justin Trudeau will cave like a little bitch.
The words he had with the little girl was to sit up there and correct her and say, "We don't say mankind, we say humankind."
Yeah.
She was a grown woman.
No, it was people kind.
Oh, people kind. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
thanks for the correction.
So much better,
We try to be inclusive. But to be fair, he did also say we can all learn from each other. I'm like, all right, that's a positive statement. I mean, yeah.
It's not human, it's Hugh people.
Yeah, well, the only thing that I've found that the people can learn from is that AntiFur can't fight worth shit. If you can't take on Sargon in that crowd in England, you have no...
Yes! Oh my god, I just got done watching that. That was the most fucking hilarious thing I've ever seen. Oh my god, that was magic.
You gave up your freaking flag. You attack Sargon, and you give up your flag to him, and he's now posting it so everyone could see it as a war trophy. Good plan.
I know. Why do these Antifa fucks go attack people like Sargon and stuff? Why don't they go attack, I don't know, Colin McGregor? Go fuck with him. Oh, wait, they don't want to get their ass beat.
Dude, Sargon's a pretty big dude.
Got their ass beat. And Sargon didn't even throw a punch. He just grabbed the flag. It was freaking ridiculous. This is what you're going to sit up there and say? This is what you're going to sit up there and defend? We're going to, and then come back later and go, and we shut them down. We won. No, no, you didn't. You got
well. To be fair, Sargon did steal the flag. He ripped it out of their hands. That is theft. He should be.
I thought someone else grabbed it.
So if they want it back, they can come in and ask for it again.
Then he was receiving stolen property.
They can file a police report.
Yeah, somehow I don't think a police report's going to go too well for them.
Why?
Well, for one thing, how are you going to claim it's your flag when your face was covered?
Well, you give them their name and identifying information.
How are they going to prove it's their flag?
The video.
The video doesn't show that it's that guy's flag.
You could show a receipt from Teespring.
That happened over in your neck of the woods, Voice. What do you think about it?
Well, honestly, I think Sargon was a bit of a fucking cuck. I mean, as soon as one of them had put their hand on me, I'd have fucking nutted the cunt. He just stood there and, no, get fucking stuck in. Jesus, come on. I'm sorry, no. Although you know that of late I've a growing disdain for Sargon.
Oh, so you hired these Antifa guys?
Believe me, if I'd have hired people that had done the job fucking properly.
yeah, he would have got in a car and went boom.
If you're going to do something like that, you come in and you bring instruments. They can be wooden at this place, so you can go right through the freaking metal detectors, and you start beating people until they're on the ground, bloodied and beaten. That's how you handle this.
You see, you see, if they're going to do it, they have to, follow someone like, let me see, Nicholas Cruz,
MC, I would have to take some contention. You probably shouldn't just beat the fuck out of people with wooden training swords.
Oh yeah, I mean it's even worse if they came in with freaking kendo sticks.
See, that's why I have polypropylene training swords. 2.8 pounds, but that shit will crack through a concrete block. And it's non-lethal.
Yeah, when the guy's head's laying there with the freaking skull fracture.
No. But this does bring an interesting question, though. When do you use violence?
When it's used against you. So as soon as they started swinging at Sargon, he should have knocked them out.
They pushed him. They did push him. It was clearly he was pushed from behind, while another guy kind of went up to him, like grabbed his shirt. He grabbed his arm, and then he was trying to reason with him.
There's no reasoning with these people.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing. I understand they were trying to take over the event there. And again, I haven't seen every single angle of footage of everything. From what I could see, I did see there was some pushing and stuff, but from what I saw, it looked like one of the audience members actually threw the first punch and basically cold cocked that guy from the side with like an overhand butterbean.
It was a good hit, wasn't it?
It was. He wasn't ready for it. He wasn't expecting it. He was kind of like grappling another dude a little bit. So it's just all of a sudden, pow!
Wait.
He got a concussion.
So I'll take a page out of your book. So would you say that guy got Spencered?
Well, no. They were initiating conflict. There was the escalation of conflict there. It's just that's why I'm asking the panel the question. I'm like, at what point is force necessary?
Are they trying to, in this case right now, when you talk about force, and I'm not talking lethal force, I'm just talking force. Okay. The force had already showed up when you charge a group of people and you charge a stage in black masks, all right, to try and physically prevent them from speaking, which is exactly what they did. That's force. You have the right then to use force, what the force necessary to sit up there and take that back. Now, in this case, does that mean you go out there and start shooting people like Nicholas Cruz, as Voice was suggesting. No, I don't think you necessarily need to go that far.
Well, no, you bring up a good point, MC. No, you bring up a good point. Here's the thing. Did they know that they were just simply there to disturb? They're dudes wearing black masks and shit. I mean, like, what if it's like a terrorist attack?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you have the right. Yeah, but you don't have the right necessarily to do deadly force there per se.
No.
Right.
Well, my theory is if you were to respond when you said they were charging, I agree with that. If somebody's coming at you, you have the right to defend yourself. At the point where I did see basically somebody getting punched, they were there, and then basically you could kind of see they were pulling the alarm. They were doing this. I didn't actually see footage of the smoke bomb that I heard there were reports of. I can't confirm that, but just from what I could see there, it's like, all right, they're there, they're trolling you, they're making a lot of noise trying to disrupt your rally. There was some pushing happening, and at one point, a punch was thrown.
Well, several punches were thrown.
And I get you. It's just at that point, some time had passed, and I'm just like, is that still considered a charge? Or as in D&D or stuff like that, you get +2 for charge.
Well,
somebody can also prepare themselves, but once they're actually...
You have the right to take back that situation with force.
Do they?
Yes.
Didn't they have security?
Did the security show up?
I saw some dudes walking around.
Did they show up at that point?
They were wearing suits.
So basically, you have to. You want someone else to be in charge of defending yourself and defending your rights. Wrong attitude to take, my opinion.
Well, to be fair, they are in the UK. They don't necessarily have the rights we have.
It isn't the US. Well, actually, I'm not even sure how that would weigh it.
Voice was trying to pipe in. Voice, go ahead. Something about the security guards. That's all I heard, and then you mute off again.
Voice.
Sorry, I was waiting till you finish talking. No, if you watch, there are videos at the end where you see security, grabbing the fuckers and forcing them out.
Well, that was out of the room.
No, that was out of the building.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just the police, as far as I know, they were further out. Like, they weren't actually in the auditorium.
No, I didn't see any police, just security. But it was funny how, these white progressives were fighting back against two black guys.
Well, there was also one of the AntiFur was obviously a person of color. Of course, all he did was he ran up on stage and wandered around. He basically, I mean, he didn't try to defend anybody. He didn't try to help anybody.
Well, he wanted to feel part of a group.
He just kind of. I mean, I was watching just to see whether or not that guy would have any actions and all. I played it back several times just to see. But all that guy did was wander around. It's like, oh, I went with the crowd. Okay, well, now what? I'm not even sure if he was part of AntiFur or if he just was like, oh, I guess I have a mask. I'll just wander around.
Well, dude, here's the thing. You're on a college fucking campus. You just, hey, you guys want to smoke some weed? You go to, dude, you'll get fucking 5 people. It doesn't fucking matter what color you are. It's like, smoke some weed and run around with a mask? Okay.
No, see, here's one thing that just, shows that these people are a bunch of cowardly fucks, right? Now, if you're living in a country, say, like Iran, right? And you're fighting against the regime, I can understand someone covering their face. But here are these fucking middle-class twats, because most of them are, in a free country, and they're still afraid to show their fucking faces. No, show your fucking faces, you cowards. If you have got the temerity to get up and try to attack people with fucking violence just for talking, you should be at least, have the fucking courage to show your face. I mean, like, look at Richard Spencer. Like, he's spouting some serious bullshit, but at least he's not covering his face up, That's why they're a bunch of fucking cowards, a lot of them. And it's why, once again, if they ever do turn up, anyone listening to this, if you're at a college and they do turn up Just nut the fuckers. Be done with it.
Only if they hit you first would be my caveat.
No,
Non-aggressive principle.
Steve Shives
once
has
the
come out and
fight
said
begins,
that
man,
punching people
it's
is
not
all
a
right.
matter of waiting for the fist to hit you first. It really isn't. It really isn't.
Steve Shives and all them fucking lefties has come out and said it's okay to punch people you disagree with. So punch away.
Oh, that is a point, and they literally singled out libertarians.
Am I smelling? It's okay to is it okay to punch a commie meme?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm surprised there's not more of those already.
No, like at this point, like that literally is like the best. Because here's the thing: if there was a quote unquote liberalist that did throw the first punch, the argument that one could make is, well, it's okay to punch a Nazi, so it must be okay to punch a communist.
But they attacked. Well, you can argue that you can.
Well, it's justification. That's what I'm saying is if the courts were to, it's like, well, socially this has been promoted, like just kind of in the other direction, right?
I don't. I guess I'm not following you. What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying basically if the mainstream, basically if you, because I mean, a part of this, I think it was covered in Breitbart or something like that. There are some articles going around. Let's face it, man. This stuff is literally, it's growing. So yeah, more and more people are paying attention.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm just wondering, are you in the shitter because you sound a bit echoey?
Of course I am. Not anymore. I just walked out. Mobile technology.
I hope you washed your hands. I didn't hear a flush.
Well, I was courteous.
So no, but as far as is, you have the right to take back your venue, all right? And if that requires you to throw a fist to forcibly remove these people, to encourage them to get the heck out, let them out.
MC, as somebody that has worked on Project Rock, I understand that is your take, and that I'm not arguing is an effective method. However, I'm looking at for more of what would the actual law state, because I don't know. I don't know what the laws are there at wherever they were. That's why I was asking. I'm not sure. Like we like to think like the American perspective of things, but let's face it. You go to a place like Glasgow or something like that. If anybody does fucking anything like that, it's like literally a headbutt is saying hello. So the laws may actually be different in depending on where you are. So I'm curious.
Well, you're talking about people who tolerate throwing acid in people's faces and saying, well, he's an immigrant, we'll just let him stay.
That doesn't sound productive.
Okay. It's not productive, but we're not talking about productivity. We're talking about if you're going to let violence happen.
Well, it sounds like that's somebody that should probably be.
If they wanted to stop this stuff should have been stopped when they were jumping over the little ticket things. The security people let them in. Security had failed.
Wait, is that seriously like the UK's immigration policy? They have like a little turnstile like they do at the subway?
No, I'm talking about the. I'm talking
no.
about
Because to be fair, they do have a tunnel. So I mean, like in theory, you could.
No, I'm talking about at this event. At this event, they had turnstiles.
Oh,
like subway turnstiles, and they were jumping over the turnstiles. They jumped over those turnstiles and headed straight for that venue, and security didn't stop them.
Did they have orders to stop people that just jumped the turnstiles?
Well, I would assume yes.
Are you sure?
I think you're missing the point here. This was at a college, and every single one of them had a college card.
I know you live in. I know you live in the Boston area, and you're used to having like sheriffs that just stand around and watch kids get mowed down and everything. So you may think that this is a normal activity for security guards.
We actually got some pretty good police departments up here, MC. But no. That I didn't have that information. That's why I'm just thinking, what is this, just like a festival or something? And I'm coming at this as somebody that did actually work for a security firm for a while. And our orders, and again, that's why it depends on the type of security they have. A lot of times, most security companies are like, we're just billing hours. We don't want you to get involved in something legal. If they happen to...
Security didn't feel this was a college, them turnstiles are for college students to swipe their card. They all got in because they were college students. The security couldn't stop them from coming in because they were students.
Well, no, but they were jumping the turnstiles. They weren't using their cards to just go through them.
Yes, they were going in, yeah.
No,
otherwise they would have been stopped.
No,
because someone jumped in the turnstile.
They have film. You have to look at some of the other footage. Some of the other footage shows when they began, and they began by just literally jumping over those turnstiles, heading for that.
Were their badges like disabled for like a reason or something?
Well, I don't think their badges were disabled or anything. I think
why would they use them?
They were just doing it in a mass rush because they had masks on them, and they were afraid that if they walked in one by one.
Oh, they were wearing masks. Oh, okay. Wait. A bunch of dudes ran in wearing masks, and they didn't do anything. Did they call somebody? Hopefully. No, I'm legitimately asking this seriously. I understand it seems bizarre, but here's the thing.
Yeah,
many security guards are issued orders not to get involved. It depends, because if they are, it's going to be a much higher billing rate. For example, like back when I used to work security, if I happened to work at an armed site and I was supposed to carry, they paid you proportionally more because it's a much more dangerous situation.
All the more reason for when your rights are being violated and you're the one being attacked, swinging is okay.
I get your point. I get your point. You have the right to defend yourself. I'm just curious.
Well, like, I have a different angle to look at this from, memes. So, all the school shootings and stuff going on in America. Could you imagine these masked guys running into a college campus and doing that here? Even in Berkeley, wouldn't they freak the fuck out?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you don't know, like, a bunch of masked dudes are just running in. What happens if all of a sudden they're just going to pull out firearms and start blowing you away?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's why it is very dangerous.
So, well, that would be even more reason for security to get involved right when they start jumping over the counter thing or whatever.
I really don't want it to go down this route because you know what's going to happen. You're going to have to start hiring security. You're going to have to start hiring armed security at some point. What ends up happening, somebody comes in, there happen to be situations, folks are on edge, and as we all know, it's just, if you're under stress and you don't know and you have the fear is in your head, you could start firing. It can happen. And again, like, I understand, would it be kind of, the situation would kind of be, would it discourage future people? Absolutely. It's just very...
But memes, it's wishful thinking on your part.
I know. And
what I mean by that,
I prefer us to avoid the Machiavellian route.
Well, but what are the choices? Do you think AntiFur or Antifa or however they frickin' pronounce it, do you think that they're going to sit up there and change their tactics?
I'm just saying they'll also use it as a rallying call because it does go both ways. My proposal would be, okay, if you have security there, see if security does something. If security's not doing anything, if you have an actual police officer upstairs, police officer has the ability to actually enforce the law. So basically, if you notify them and then all of a sudden if they start fighting with a police officer, that's a different situation. You hire backup.
They've already by that time taken over the event, right? And have disrupted everything that people had paid money for to see an event. That, in other words, what you're suggesting is let's all do this nice and neat and let the lefties do whatever they want because we know that they're bad and we'll pat them on the head and let them do it again. Because that's what's going to happen.
How about this for a more modest proposal? They're not leaving, they're disrupting your event. Sargon just picks the dude he's arguing with up because he's bigger than him and starts carrying him outside. And everyone, the 300 other folks, just start doing the same. Then if somebody actually starts striking you with this, then you have justification. I'm essentially arguing from the side of eliminating all the things before you'd actually start beating the shit out of people.
I'm sorry, but at the point where they charge in like that, they're looking to riot. You might as well give it to them.
That's the thing. As soon as they're charging, if the dudes, like dude, as we learned from South Park, oh my God, they're coming straight for us. They're coming straight at you in a charge. That's the thing. It's just, the smashing of someone's head and didn't happen until post-charge, from what I could see. Basically,
well, it doesn't matter. They're still there. They've taken over the area. They're trying to secure the area.
well, they're not used to getting beating the shit out of.
Well, you've got to take it back now.
Again, no, you have the right to defend yourself. I'm just saying that it's just going to continue to perpetuate things going down this road.
Your attitude is you have the right to run away.
They run, stand there and just wait till they get their ass out of.
No.
I carry them away.
Well, I don't think it's. I don't think you're limited to running. I think you can saunter, you could sashay. You know, I mean, pirouette if you wanted to.
Hey, I live in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In order for me to fire at an intruder, I need to be lying prone, helpless in my closet.
That is so fucked up. That is so fucked up.
I live in Arizona.
The duty to retreat. I'm thinking about migrating. It's just Is
that just a sexual thing?
What?
Is it just a sexual thing?
No, it's
just.
If you do not have a castle doctrine law, basically.
I know.
Yes, you have a duty to all reasonable retreats. Basically, it's that you're running, you fall, and then you fire after. I have a fire, blah, blah, blah.
No, I have the right to shoot you.
There's a reason it's the most restrictive state in the union. That's not even a state.
Yeah. Well, if Trump's proposals go through, this should be interesting. Because one of his proposals that he's pushing really hard is reciprocity for concealed carry.
Oh, dude, it was a pain in the ass. Here's the thing. I had friends that work security and stuff, and to get their reciprocal thing from mass, it took about 6 months. Well, keep in mind this was about a decade ago. It took about 6 months to file for your permit to go through. It only lasts a year, and it starts from your filing date. And it wasn't cheap. That's each year.
That's how they try to prevent that in those states. They make it cost prohibitive.
Well, if Trump gets his way on that proposal, then means I say you just move to Virginia for 6 months, get your concealed carry there, and then move back.
Well, to be.
Did we lose it?
Qualified just because I was heavily doing security at the time.
But I think you have to be in a state for 6 months to become a resident. So you would have to live in another state for 6 months to get their concealed carry permit.
Depends on the state. Every state has its own rules for how long you have to be in the state for before you can become a resident or a citizen.
Oh, well, here in Oregon, it's 6 months. That's all I know.
Or one bong hit.
Well, then that might as well count. Come on now.
How do we get on guns again?
It's just I don't know. Oh, Sargon's thing. That's how. Cabbage. What do you think about that event? Was that the Sargon version of Capture the Flag?
Oh yeah, at St. George's. Well, yeah, the university.
Yeah, it just happened yesterday.
King's College.
Yeah, King's College. Thank you. I don't know. I'm still kind of mulling it over. I've seen his version of it, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm meant to think about it. Really, it's something he did. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not really quite sure what he thought was.
Come on, just go along with the group consensus. Come on, move along.
I mean, it's a great publicity stunt for himself, but I'm just not sure that I'm meant to think anything beyond
Wait,
that, really.
So you're saying it was a false flag?
Well, I mean...
Unintended?
It walks like a duck.
Unintended?
Well, okay, so they shut down the event. Did Sargon even speak at all? Like, should these ticket holders get reimbursed?
He did speak. Somebody had some office space locally. Somebody who was not Coach Red Bull, as far as I know, had some extra office space.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was it's just one of those little, you know, escapades, and it won't affect him. And he got a flag out of it, so hurrah!
I loved was it Fox from the West video, because he put the little Final Fantasy VII thing at the end. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know. I like Final Fantasy VII.
But I do have another story out of the UK. So this is from CNN. Just a second while it loads up. All right. Russian spy mystery deepens as his daughter confirmed as a second victim. A woman found unconscious at a shopping center branch in southern England next to a Russian former double agent is his daughter, a source told CNN on Tuesday. Sergei Skripal, 66, a former Russian military official convicted of spying for the UK, and his daughter, Yulia, 33, who was visiting from Russia, are critically ill in a UK hospital after suspected exposure to an unknown substance. British counter-terrorism police are investigating how the pair ended up slumped on a bench Sunday in Salisbury, England. The incident has been declared terrorism, but due to unusual circumstances, the Specialized Counter-Terrorism Unit will lead the investigation, London's Metropolitan Police said Tuesday. Skripal was convicted in Russia of spying for Britain before being granted refuge in the UK after a high-profile spy swap between the US and Russia in 2010. Salisbury, perhaps best known as the stopping-off point for tourists visiting nearby Stonehenge, has become a likely center of an extensive police probe into the mysterious circumstances around how Skripal and his daughter fell ill. The pair was found on a bench in a remarkable outdoor shopping complex surrounded by a handful of chain eateries, including an Italian restaurant, which was closed as part of the inquiry. Okay, so more spies are dead. Putin did it, right? Obviously.
Wait,
Well,
they're spies?
Well, sorry, there was a part in that bit where he said there was a particular term that was used when they were describing him. You know, in the introduction, convicted spy.
Yeah, he was convicted.
Right?
Yeah, he was a convicted Russian guy who was working for the UK.
Yeah, so who
the UK
convicted?
can't
Yeah,
even
but
protect their own spies.
no, but that's what I mean. Who convicted him? I mean, the British don't convict their own spies of spying.
No, he was convicted in Russia.
Oh,
yeah,
I
he was
see.
convicted
Okay.
in Russia and fled. To the
It
UK.
was just a really odd way
No,
to
he
put
didn't
it.
flee.
You know what I mean?
He was in prison, and he was when there was a spy swap. He was one of the spies that was swapped.
It's just the hideous.
So he
nature
was
of,
convicted of treason.
we had just the the literary skills of these fucking people now. It just makes it sound like he was actually convicted in Britain for spying. The way it's phrased.
Well,
It's terrible grammar.
It's not
Really
like
bad
he has
grammar.
500 parts per million of plutonium in his system. Polonium.
Polonium.
Oh,
Yeah.
he totally does. I bet he would die from a radioactive something. like this
No,
has
no,
Putin
they-
written all over
They've
it.
moved on from that. No, they've moved on from polonium and things because that's too easily traceable. You know, so now they'll be using something else. Be some nerve agent or whatever.
But why
Could be
kill the daughter?
Could be ricin.
Yeah, exactly, because that has a nice slow release period, doesn't it? But then again, for them both to get affected simultaneously, a mother and a daughter, was it? Did you say mother-daughter?
No, it's a father and a daughter.
The father and daughter. I mean, you know, their body mass and everything, the effect should have, you know, it's odd that they both go at the same time. You know, you'd expect the child to go way before the father. If you're looking at absorption.
It sounds to me that they were found slumped over on a bench. It sounds like this was a snatch and grab operation, and they were tossed on a bench somewhere.
Well, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. If it was to do with poisoning or something, then the child would have. I mean, you know, like it would take a hell of a lot longer for the father to be affected by some kind of imbibed.
They could have adjusted the doses.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they would have time to if MC's idea is correct. If they were actually kidnapped and then dumped at this bench in an unremarkable shopping center. It's kind of interesting they use unremarkable. Like, what shopping center is really remarkable?
Someplace they still want you to go.
Well, somewhere that isn't boarded up.
Well, it must be pretty remarkable because every freaking 5 feet you got a camera freaking in London in those areas.
You do. They have trees of them.
Well, this was in Salisbury, which is up
Yeah, that's
north
way
by
no. That's
Stonehenge.
no. It's not. That's not north. No, that's down in the southwest.
South. Okay, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know England that well. All right.
Although, having said that, Salisbury, oddly enough, does have a reputation. If you go back through all of the things like the Masonic things and the Hellfire Club, and all the freaky people that used to in the 1800s, the 1900s, and Salisbury was a major place where these, Druidic, aristocrats. I'm not saying, average person, but they used to have weird clubs and things, and Salisbury is one of the main places they used to gather. So it could be symbolic too.
That sounds like a Salisbury we have around here.
So it could be symbolic, dumping them out in Salisbury. If it was, because I can't understand how they both end up dead just from ingestion. It doesn't make any sense simultaneously.
Well,
they're slumped over each other. It doesn't.
They're in comas, aren't they, right now?
Yeah, I don't think they're dead yet. I still have the article pulled up if you want me to go a little bit further. All right, so images taken outside the restaurant Monday night showed investigators in anti-contamination suits searching the premises. Authorities have declined to name the substance to which the pair were exposed. A small number of emergency service personnel were treated immediately afterward. Local police said Tuesday one of them remains in the hospital. It sounds radioactive. I mean,
No,
why would them?
It doesn't sound radioactive. This sounds like nerve agent.
Yeah, it's definitely more on the ricin route. Yeah.
Radioactivity, you wouldn't be in the hospital. You just wash it off.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, so-
radiation is actually not that dangerous. I mean, they did overreact with that, the one in London. It was a good story.
Yeah, and why would they refuse to name the substance? They even named the substance spy died in the UK. I mean,
Well,
and I want to get at that. This seems to be a
Yeah, but-
reoccurring theme. What happened to your intelligence network, Cabbage? What's going on? Shouldn't you
Well,
know
but
when there's a
you-
Russian spy running around killing people?
Oh, we do. That's the whole point. I mean, the foreign offices. There's an old saying, that the Kremlin knows things about Britain before the foreign office. Going back to the days of Philby and what was the other guy? A group of 4 of them. They come out of Cambridge. I mean, they're recruited in our, Oxford. Well, mainly Cambridge, but some from Oxford.
I think Fuchs
Our
came
entire
from
civil
fucking
service. Our entire civil service is littered with these people.
Oh, you're right, Cabbage. I was watching a documentary on Amazon Prime about exactly that. They had recruited like 3 or 4 separate spies out of the same university, I believe,
Yeah.
Oxford.
Wait,
And
Well,
one
it's
of them-
McLean.
wait,
It's
Mad
Philby and
Dutch,
McLean.
you watched The Kingsman too?
I don't remember what it was. Just about Soviet era spying. It was like a 4-parter. So
No,
it was
it
like
was,
4 hours long.
Yeah, it was Philby and McLean. They were the most well-known ones, and it was during the the Second World War. Well, no, sorry, in the 1950s, 1960s.
Well, yeah. Actually, the
they were
UK
they were MI6.
I don't even remember which guy it was, but the UK sent one of the spies to America to help with the damn fucking Manhattan Project or
Yeah,
something.
Klaus
Yeah.
Fuchs.
Yeah. Like, you guys were exporting spies into our highest fucking area. I don't trust your intelligence service, sir.
Well, no, neither do I. I mean, they are very much.
We had them
socialist.
check their iPhones at the door.
Yeah, look, all security forces are by nature total socialists. That's how it works. They are power mongers.
But I mean, when was that other spy who got poked with something and died from the plutonium or whatever? How long ago was that? 10 years?
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
a
this is-
polonium attack. They killed people with ricins with the jab and the umbrella balloon. I mean,
Yeah.
I
There's plenty of
mean,
ways.
when it comes to killing, you know, they're really good at that. And to be honest, after this last attack in the frickin' airport that was pulled off by the North Koreans, you know, that's a pretty effective tactic.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, as well, England, you know, like London itself has the highest concentration of embassies of any country in the world. You know, in one place.
So basically, spy central.
Mm. It is.
You know, I need to start remembering that playing Civ 5, because every time another country's like, "Hey, can we put an embassy in your city?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah, you hit a critical mass, and then it all goes tits up, and then you know. But the big problem is with GCHQ. It's the establishment. That is the shadow government. You know, when it goes into the secret services, then you're talking about the shadow government, because it is in the shadows. And even, you know, ministers and people don't get notified, so they've got plausible deniability and all these other things. So, and the people who are doing it are, you know, usually hyper paranoid, not really the kind of people that you want in charge of anything. And plus, you know, control freaks, and not averse to torture.
Well, okay, so the thing is, though, Russia is really just targeting their own spies who flipped, right? So they're getting retribution.
They were convicted for treason.
Yeah, but what happens when they start killing our spies or the UK spies? Is that going to actually get some pushback?
Well,
it seems like
that's why we gave back 7 Russian spies. That was like 3-4 years ago, man. It's like they were just like living it up, and it's like, oh yeah, they happen to be spies. They're leaving. Nothing to see here.
Well, having said that, the British government used to use that as an excuse for anything. If they had a particularly bad time or of something, they'd just say, "Oh, we've discovered a spy ring, and we are expelling the ambassador," and you know, whatever. So it would divert news.
Well, I mean, I don't know, if you get a double agent returned to you who you know has Putin of all fucking people after him, wouldn't you protect this guy a little bit better? And his daughter comes to visit from Russia. Why the fuck did you let her in the country? Like,
Yeah, but maybe
they followed her.
But the thing is, yeah, but maybe it was the British Secret Service that did it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm saying, you know, why not?
If he was a double agent and he was a blind, it's a possibility.
Yeah. And then use other markers in order to, you know, detract from it, you know, to give the appearance from somebody else doing it. Yeah, you see, I mean, there's plenty of ways. Once you're into that level, I mean, is it bluff, calling bluff, calling bluff, calling bluff? You just don't know, do you?
Why do people sign up for that fucking job? Hey, you want to go spy on Putin? No, fuck off. Like, not gonna happen.
Why do people play Russian roulette? Because you can.
That's easy. They're suicidal. Is it the same answer for both?
That's just retardation.
They're both
desperation.
That start with Russia.
There's a lot of reasons people may do it. They may have woke up and freaking ate the wrong cornflakes that morning. They may have decided, you know what, I'm going to be a patriot, and I think that these people are a threat. So therefore, this is my only way to sit there and save them. There's lots of reasons people will flip.
To be fair, MC, I think they ate old rye bread. Isn't that right, Cabbage?
Yes, the rye bread thing. Did you check it, by the way? You gotta look it up.
Well, there is going to be a little bit of background noise, but let me continue here because I read ahead a little bit and it sounds a little interesting. Salisbury resident Frosh described seeing the pair on a bench appearing out of it. She sort of leaned in on him. It looked like she'd passed out maybe. He was doing some strange hand movement up at the sky, Church told Routers on Monday. It felt like I should step in, but to be honest, they looked so out of it. I thought that even if I did step in, I wasn't sure how I would help. So yeah, I just left them. But it looked like they'd been taking something quite strong. By Tuesday morning, the bench had been covered in a white forensic tent. A light drizzle of rain falling on reporters gathered at the scene. The case has drawn comparisons to the poisoning of former Russian spy Xander Levitko, who died a slow death after drinking. I can't say that name. No fucking way.
Litvinenko.
After drinking tea laced with highly radioactive plutonium-210 in a Mayfair hotel of London in 06.
Polonium, not plutonium.
Polonium, you're right. Polonium. It says radioactive. I think plutonium immediately. It just turned it out.
To be fair, maybe they auto-corrected.
There are reasons why you don't want to use plutonium. Plutonium's a gamma emitter.
Well, that would just kill anyone handling it.
No, it means that it's easily detected. Even if it gets in the human body, it'll be detected outside of the human body. If it's a beta emitter and you ingest it, you won't be detecting it outside the human body because the energy is not high enough to get outside the human body.
Like Walter White said, make sure it has the right label.
Well, will some kind of nerve agent make it look like you're on heroin? Because that's what they're describing here.
Well, no, what it sounds like,
she's nodding
like,
out.
They were dumped, and they would, yeah, but they were drugged up when they were dumped. Like I said, the fact that these people are passing out, clearly indicates that something very odd is happening. They could have given them a dose of fentanyl and something else. Yeah, you give them a dose of something and stick them on a bench.
But it sounds like it also sounds like. I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
It also sounds like, however, that they have footage of who dumped them there, because of them sealing the bench and everything off. It sounds like it just from the way that reads, it looks like they have evidence that it wasn't necessarily them just getting dumped there. It sounds like they caught them there or something along those lines and then sprayed them down there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a tent over that bench trying to do forensic analysis.
Yeah, and I looked forward a couple sentences. It's not worth reading, but the Russian ambassador declined to comment whether or not the daughter still had citizenship in Russia. That's fishy as well. They should just say, yeah, she's a citizen, or no, we expelled her, right?
He may not know.
You can't just look that shit up. We have birth certificates and records. You could tell I'm a U.S.
could not be reached for comment.
I mean, seriously, you're telling me the CIA couldn't find out if I was a goddamn citizen, or the embassy if I was in a foreign country?
At the time you're getting asked that question, the ambassador. Who knows how they came up to the ambassador? He may not even have heard of this thing happening, and they're like, "So is this person?"
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a while just to get it. I mean, it takes a while for the guy to tell his secretary to call somebody to find it out, and then for the person to look it up and then come back to the person and then transfer it.
Then by then he's also getting the information of how should I handle this from the home office.
Yeah. Well, that's the breathing space.
Well, maybe I'm a bit naive. I just feel like it's an easy question to ask with a little bit of time.
Look, the ambassador's just not going to pull out his laptop and look it up himself, and with the reporter standing there. It's
the Russian citizen finder. Every official has it. They're tracked with the chips. Come on.
Well, and if she had a Russian... Well, okay, let's go even easier. Did she have a Russian fucking passport? Then she's a citizen, right? I mean, that's a pretty easy question to answer.
Does he know she has a passport?
Was it found on her? You're in a foreign country. Shouldn't you keep that on you? He doesn't, but the news.
No.
Or the British officials would know. Why even ask the question?
You don't have your passport on you because, if you go to a hotel, they ask you for your passport.
Okay.
It gets kept. So, no, you don't have your passport on you when you're wandering around.
I thought you had to keep your passport with you.
Wait, hotels need your passport in the UK?
Well, no, not in the UK. Not in the UK. We don't do that in the UK because we're civilized. But in European countries, they will. And they keep it in the safe. And then, yeah, but if anything happens to you, you just give the name of the hotel, and then, you know.
But what if I'm arrested and they're like, we don't take your stupid Oregon ID, fucker. Where's your passport? I'm like, oh, it's at the hostel I was staying in. Is that the lie?
Call it in the bar. I can drink here.
Well, the whole point of holding it is in case you don't pay your bills, you see. That's the reason that they do it.
Oh, that's so fuck. Then I refuse. Fuck off, man. You're not taking my passport.
Come on, we're the U.S.
You ran my
credit
card.
We can bill the hell out of for that.
Yeah, take my credit card like a fucking normal human being. What the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
Wait, this is why the rest of the world hates Americans, huh? I'm sure there's like 1 million Americans every day in Europe. Like, go to hell. Just take my credit card, not my passport.
Well, like I said, you got to know where you're going because it happened. And Switzerland does it too. Well, they used to. I mean, maybe now they don't need to so much. Like you say, with credit cards and things, and you can pay if you pay your bill in advance, and then it's only the supplements or whatever. But yeah, usually they used to. I don't know. Things have changed now with biometric passports. They can hunt you down no matter where you are.
I don't know. I just think it's really odd how they're treating this. And if there's some nerve agent there, what about the witness? Wouldn't she have been contaminated? Because they said somebody was there right after they, were like nodding off and passing out, and she just left them. That means, she saw him. She was in close proximity to the incident. And an emergency personnel had to be hospitalized. What's wrong with this civilian? Why weren't they hospitalized? I mean, how close did they get? What was used?
They saw some people that they thought were on something. And they definitely were on something.
Well, no, I agree with MC. I think all of it. To me, it sounds like they were dumped and they were drugged on a bench.
Well, then why would the first responder, have to be hospitalized? That's still my question. Like, what can leave that kind of residual effects just by contact, just by responding to the situation and being a paramedic? You know what I mean?
Nerve agent. I've said that before.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And you will look like you're out of it because you won't be able to respond correctly. Your movements will be disjointed. You'll be looking like you're confused.
It look like you got MS or something, Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, there is a little bit more on this story, but it just goes into who was he. He was among the 10 so-called Russian sleeper agents deported by the U.S. as part of the deal with Anna Chapman, who had previously lived in London. The president, Dmitry, the then Russian president, Dmitry, pardoned this spy. So he did receive a pardon. Why would they still be going after him?
Because Putin doesn't forget. You think Putin's happy about that? Okay, you may have been pardoned, but I'm the boss now, baby. The KGB never forgets.
Oh, let bygones be bygones.
Don't fuck with Putin.
I don't know if that's the case, but like Cabbage mentioned,
unless you're ready for what could happen, it's just the Russians don't fool around.
If he's a mole, if he'd have been a mole, it's very possible that the British got rid of another hole.
Yeah,
it's impossible to know at this stage, and we'll probably never know unless some of you guys live another 50 years. I doubt I'll be there amongst you.
Yeah. And nobody cares at that point. So it's all pretty worthless anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I'm in trouble. I ate all my wife's Girl Scout cookies. Now she's going to buy more. Yay.
What the?
Hey, those Thin Mints are fucking good. I don't care what you say. That's some good
I
shit.
think you're just trying to get Girl Scouts around your house, you sick bastard.
No, they
Send
stand
her
up.
out for burritos at all times of the night. It's like, what do you think cookies are gonna do?
But she won't go to Taco Bell in the middle of the night. I've tried. I mean, fuck off. That's rude.
You don't have a clown suit, do you?
No. No,
Okay,
sir.
just checking.
Oh, so Cabbage, you've been away from the Redeye for quite a while. Any good news stories over there in the UK or anything you really want to talk about? I think we covered the stories I have.
No, just the usual frustrations regarding Brexit. You know, the complete catastrophe fuck that Theresa May has turned it into. It's all panning out exactly as I said back in the day with Ogre, on there. So yeah. So apart from that, I've not really been paying much attention because I couldn't give a shit at the moment. I really couldn't. I've got other things to deal. I've got my own life to actually deal with.
Well, what about Brexit though? Are they extending the amount of time it's going to take to actually complete, or are they stalling and dragging their feet so much that you guys are going to be in the EU for another 50 years?
They're doing exactly what I said they'd do. Theresa May extended, she didn't issue Article 50 for 8 months. Then she won then the referendum was completed, then Article 50, then delayed it yet again by calling a general election, which was a complete disaster. This whole thing it's got to be intentional. Nobody can be this incompetent. The government is showing just how unrepresentative it is of the people.
Never underestimate the power of government.
Well, Cabbage, what about
never underestimate the government's contempt for the people, or at least democracy.
Well,
sorry,
but
don't misunderestimate me.
Well, what about the Italian election that just happened? Didn't a hardliner
that's
actually get elected? Yeah,
5-star.
They kind of want to leave the EU as well, or at least they're trying to renegotiate how the EU is ran. How about that? I mean, couldn't that really take the EU in a different direction?
That would be a way to go, except they have a debt of 130% GDP.
Yeah, but but the thing is, if they get out of Europe, that would break their tie with the euro. Then they can devalue the currency and regain, their independence. That's what they'd have to do. We don't have to worry about the euro breakout, which Italy has that issue. We kept our currency. That was the smartest thing we ever did, But Italy could break out. But they're not. I mean, people are getting overly excited about it, like it's going to happen in the near future. They still want to negotiate with the Eurocrats. They're not really committed like Britain was to Brexit. It's not like the same upswell that exists over here.
So I've obviously I'm not European. How does the EU work? How did Merkel end up running the whole shindig, and can she be replaced? Could England have actually, instead of leaving, took it over and maybe regained their empire that way, kind of like it seems the German people have conquered all of Europe without firing a single shot?
Well, the problem between Europe and Britain is Britain has the common law concept. The Europeans have Napoleonic law. Napoleonic law says that you can't do anything unless it's permitted by law. Common law says you can do anything within reason, unless there's a law that says you can't. So that's the principle of freedom, right? So the two will never meet. But the rest of the European countries, I mean, if you look at most of them, they've had major fascist leaders in relatively recent history. Italy, Greece, Spain, Portugal, France with Napoleon, Germany, clearly, Prussians, ours, you got all of it. If you look around, most of them, I mean, apart from Belgium, what the fuck's Belgium anyway? But, you know, Holland, well, not so much Holland, really. But certainly the majority of anything sort of down from the Netherlands pretty much used to working under that sort of system. So they're happy. That's why Italy's not looking to leave. They want to try and renegotiate. But we tried that. You remember David Cameron? He went over to Europe and said, we want some, you know, reasonable agreements, and he got told to go fuck himself. And that's why we ended up with the referendum.
Well, to bring this back to what I popped in on, that's why he needed to go in there like a ranting maniac, kind of like a Donald Trump. So then you have the big ask, and then they say, no, there's no way we'll do that. And then you settle on something more moderate that makes sense. So they can claim that we didn't give that ranting maniac everything he wanted. He only got this. And he's like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, but I only actually wanted
the thing.
this.
He's trying to be too proper. And the Germans were like, they called his bluff, and he backed down.
Mm-hmm. And Theresa May's doing the exact opposite. She's going on bended knee, acting as if she's, you know, she has to kowtow to these people. And that's a big mistake.
Well, she was a Remainer, right? I mean, she doesn't want to leave.
She was. No, she's an absolute fucking atrocity. She should never have been in there. And neither should the cabinet. As far as I'm concerned, when the stupid bitch called, well, I mean, when the referendum was called, she should have been removed. And certainly a number of, there should have been a majority of the cabinet that was, you know, that was Brexit. And pretty much, I'm not kidding you, like 95% of the cabinet after the referendum, they were all Remainers. There is no momentum and no impetus and no intention of these people to Brexit if they can avoid it. And they're doing everything they can to even undermine British democracy just so that they can see through this ridiculous, crazy shit that, you know, experiment that's being done.
I would counter there is mogmentum.
Well, and they can't.
I've been saying that for a long time. You know, I saw that guy, and it was just like, this guy's an up and comer. So yeah, I'm a Rees-Mogg from the old days. I really am. The guy's class.
Well, they can't force a second referendum, can they?
Yes, they can. Before enough, you know, requests for it on the House, and somebody moves for whatever. You know, there are mechanisms for having these sort of things.
So they literally can just repeatedly have a referendum, take forever, kick the can, have another one.
Yeah.
So you are stuck for another 50 years.
Well, I mean, this is the problem. That's exactly what Theresa May did, was by calling that general election and thinking that she could convert a referendum into an election. She thought she was going to, you know, convert those Brexit votes into her majority, and that would have put her in a, you know, a significant position of power. But it totally blew up in her face because Brexit was a specific, independent, you know, item. When it came, it was not a party political issue. It was totally non-partisan. So she fucked it up, and that's the so she ended up then creating an even greater delay. And all of these things are building delays. And I'm telling you, and people may say this is a conspiracy idea, you know, or just, you know, a rational concept. But I think they're looking for you know, the kill-off. The people who generally voted for Brexit were the older population. So if you can keep it going for a couple of years, and the majority in terms of the vote, I mean, technically by popular vote, it was pretty close, you know? So all you need to do is, if you can get 2 years of die-off of old people who would have voted, plus you can bring in a bunch of extra immigrants, and you can, you know, a bunch of these university graduates who are going to be released out into the general populace, you know, with voting privileges. And then you call it again. So it's a war of attrition. They're working on the concept that then they can call a referendum, say, well, it's perfectly reasonable, we ask again. But they've stacked the figures by the way that they've manipulated the books.
So they're kind of taking a page out of the Democratic playbook and just taking an inch, and it'll sooner or later turn into a mile.
Yeah, they are playing the demographics, and they are literally waiting. They're using the death rate, you know, of people as part of the equation. How many people are going to die off who voted, and how many of these social justice, pink-haired, you know, loony, you know, Europe, everybody hug and you know, come by our bullshit, are going to be released out to go and vote, you know, for Jeremy Corbyn and people like that. And that's frightening.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
Plus,
think?
in the
MC?
meantime, of course, and by
from-
the way, don't forget, right? Don't forget that because of the way Theresa May's handled this, we're still importing, you know, immigrants at the same rate as we ever have done, because we're still stuck with the obligations that we have, you know, that we had when we allegedly left. So this is what I mean, you know, padding the numbers and everything, because no immigrant's going to vote for closed borders.
Yeah. What does the rest of the panel think? Do you think they're going to be stuck in the freaking EU for another 50 years, or will another prime minister actually rise up, take over? When's your next election?
Oh no, it's worse than that, man. This is the problem now, because
I think I think the government's gonna collapse, isn't it?
well, the government is going, yeah, I mean, it's imploding upon itself. I mean, unless maybe Rees-Mogg could bring it back. He could. He's a sound fella.
Well, we can always have the leader of the Liberalists join in.
No, fuck, yes, right. Jesus.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's seriously like.
Well, yeah, maybe as an entree, the calamari, fucking squid.
No, that's where if you see violence at the rally, because I do honestly think that like Sargon was trying to channel Rees-Mogg there. Because remember, some AntiFur showed up at one of Rees-Mogg's things. What did he do? He just tried to quiet the crowd down. He walked up and he treated them like English folks.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's where, like,
trying to
as soon
deal
as
with
punches
them.
get thrown, that's why I'm saying, like, and again, I understand the situation is much different, but I'm just saying, like, if you do actually want to challenge the system, most folks, they don't really like violence. So, yeah.
You don't challenge the system by trying to deny people the right to speak.
Oh, exactly.
Well, they're already doing that, or at least restricting it in some ways.
Yeah, you see, that's the problem. They don't say, "Oh, well, we're not denying it." It's not like we're actually taking your. You can do it somewhere else, or you can do this. You know, oh yeah, we stopped you talking tonight, but that doesn't actually prevent you from speaking. They're getting really tedious. These social justice, you know, sort of type people. They are seriously like children in a playground.
When was the last time you guys had an actual conservative prime minister? And no, I don't mean Blair. I mean somebody like Margaret Thatcher. Was she literally
Blair
the last time?
was a member of the Labour Party.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay, fair enough.
Your last real conservative was what? John Major?
Yeah, well, yeah, for what he was worth. The grey man. Yeah, he didn't really do anything. He was a complete waste of space. I mean, Margaret Thatcher, he really was. He was just a placeholder. He was kind of like Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter did a lot of damage, and there's a lot of animus.
Yeah, so did John Major. John Major sat over a lot of the disasters that he'd been, you know, the poison chalice that he'd been handed. But yeah, in terms of, well, I don't know. Well, Margaret Thatcher, yes, but I don't know. A lot of the things that Margaret Thatcher did were not actually her own wishes. She was carrying out the, you know, what had been ratified into law from the previous government. I mean, any government, the first 2 years it comes into power, really can't do a great deal because most of it is implementing the policies of the previous administrations anyway. So there's this weird latency, like a drag factor.
Wait, what are you talking about? No, as soon as your party gets into power, you just absolutely filibuster and stop enforcement of any other policy of the previous government. That's the American way.
Yeah, the British don't work that way, dude.
Now, I mean, you can lodge a bill and, you know, you can have it debated, but you can't just change the law. You know, this executive order thing.
Their bureaucracy has a lot more power over the government than ours does.
well, they have the House of Congress. The House of Commons.
No.
Like
their bureaucracy.
Drink minimum, I thought.
No. The civil servants within the British bureaucracy have a lot more power over government decisions than it is like in the United States. The United States, whoever is in charge of the executive branch, basically takes control of most of the bureaucracy because very little of it is legislative or judicial. right? As a result,
the
that president can stomp on anything, and if a branch within the United States starts dragging its feet, he can go in there and just start canning people. You can't do that in England.
Well, I want to stick with this.
MC, this is one of the weird things here as well, because you actually have the Prime Minister it's called a Minister without portfolio. They don't have a portfolio. Like a minister of, the Foreign Office Minister or the Education Minister. Each one of those is a portfolio. The Prime Minister is the one without portfolio.
Well, and I want to stick on this topic, but I just want to throw this tweet out there because I just saw it. Princess Buttercup actually has a good idea about the arm the teachers thing. She said, I think I have solved this whole arm the teachers debacle. I don't disagree with the idea. However, I think the gun should be kept in a box and a silent alarm should be triggered by its removal of the gun. That could solve the issue. Not saying it will, but it could. That's a good idea. And then the cops would immediately be called. Well, pretty much you arm the teachers, but you keep the gun in a safe or a lockbox with a silent alarm. If you open up the box, that means there's an active shooter. The police are automatically notified, and the teacher has the gun.
Yeah, and the cops stand outside while the students get mowed down. Good plan.
Well, the teacher shoots his child.
Well, that's the one thing. It's just teachers have a tough job, man, and it's.
I just don't think that it should need to be on your
breakdown. So you have to be wary about that.
When you're going for a job interview to try and educate the young people of your society, it should not be one of the questions. Do you have a firearms license?
Why not?
Well, it's just.
Do you have a concealed carry? Why not?
Maybe if it's for security reasons, but not because it should be part of their duties. Their duties are meant to be to. I mean, if they want to educate kids with guns, then fine, they could do that. Go out to a gun range and educate the kids on safe use of guns and things. Very sensible, good thing to do. But the idea that that's meant to be part of their day-to-day teaching responsibilities. It's got nothing to do with teaching.
I would point out military schools. I bet you all of those teachers have the right to carry, have a concealed carry. And you don't see any military schools being shot up, do you? I mean, seriously, like they have Pico over here. When my son was really acting up, I was going to send him there. But
military schools, and then when you take a look at the difference between how many schools are really getting shot up, it's not many. It's not all that many schools are getting shot up either.
No, but it is a disturbing, a disturbing number. I mean, you'd hope it would be zero. You certainly hope it would be less than the number you've got. And it is increasing. That's a problem. The frequency is.
Well, the frequency does seem to be increasing. You're correct.
Yeah. There's a disturbing trend.
But I think that has more to do with society than anything else.
Yeah, notoriety as well, I think.
Yeah. Right after it happens, every news outlet shouts that guy's name at the top of their lungs.
Yeah. And fame
only if he's the proper
like
color.
Fair enough.
Mass shootings don't matter. They'll put whatever name out there, man.
No, they won't.
For a
How
mass
long
shooting,
did they freaking
they
hide
kind
that
of
guy
have
who
to.
shot up the freaking nightclub in Florida, over in Orlando?
Well, they still broadcast his name.
Eventually.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying if it's a mass shooting, they always do. If you're saying maybe more small-scale shootings, some of the ones that maybe get a bit more notoriety, it's usually because, well, it's being shared around. And if it happens to fall into whatever narrative it is on whatever side, yeah, of course they're going to promote it.
You knew this guy's name. You knew Nicholas Cruz's name, all right, within 3 hours of them posting that there was a shooting. You didn't find out that the guy's name for the Orlando shooting, all right, until almost 48 hours later.
Because it was a Muslim, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, no, that's coincidence, mate. Don't read too much into that.
Well, here's the thing. No, they literally just picked him up on the side of the street. They know who it was. Whereas the gunman, didn't he die in the shooting or take his own life?
He had been talking to in Orlando. He had been talking to 911.
Did he identify himself?
Just making excuses, memes. You
I
just making excuses.
I know it's a question. It's a question. I understand.
Yeah, it's a question.
I understand your point.
Yeah. That is a fact. I mean, this is the thing. You know, the more people kind of try to avoid that issue, everyone's got to dance around these things. Everyone's walking on eggshells. No, fuck it. There are certain realities. And the reality should be recognized. And if you've got to break it,
the idea that the teachers' primary responsibilities or security and things like that, I almost tend to agree with Cabbage. But
it seems like a bad idea. It's all the horrible problem.
Bad idea.
It isn't just that they're there to defend the kids; they're also there to defend themselves.
If anything, look, if the kids know that the teachers are armed, then the first person that the guy, you know, going into a place knowing that that's a circumstance, is just going to shoot the fucking teacher.
No.
And then there's nobody to defend.
No. Wait a minute. Nope. He's not going to go in. That's why they choose the gun-free zones, Cabbage. They are pussies. They are cowards. And when they're forced with the cops in a confrontation, more than not, they kill them fucking selves. Because they can't stand up to somebody who has equal firepower. That's why they have to shoot innocent kids in a gun-free zone.
No, but
they're pieces of shit cowards.
Yes, but most of these kids that are being found, they've been like popped up on antipsychotics and all kinds of different, you know, they're on weird pill regimes, and most of them have been known to have, you know, mental episodes.
They're folks that are feeling a lot of pain.
I agree with that.
Took malice as the way out.
Yeah.
The world is the worst possible thing, so they take the lives of the innocent.
Yeah, and then they take their own life, you know, just the sort of their final statement or whatever. I mean, but that's what you'll do in a, you know, drug-induced state. You know, an ostracized child, you know, who's basically tripping continuously. It's hardly surprising that you end up with these results, is it?
I just think if it was more of an even ground and you didn't have a gun-free zone, they wouldn't be choosing those targets. I mean, they will still be crazy. They will still kill somebody. It'll probably be their parents and then themselves.
No, they'll just be more creative.
I don't think that they'll attack this. I think I agree with Mad Dodge more than anything. They won't attack the schools if they think that there's going to be a response. They will go somewhere else to do it. They will shoot up a mall or something like that. But they won't attack a school. The real thing to look at, the real lesson to take away from this, especially this last one, is you cannot rely upon the police to protect you. You have to be your first line of protection. You can't expect the police to protect you because you don't know when they won't.
No, police are basically janitors. They're there to clean up the mess afterwards. That's usually, you know, the way it works. So, yeah, there's nobody going to be better to, you know, in a better position to defend you than you.
Well, that's what you do doing security at a bar. You just throw all the troublemakers outside, let the police deal with them.
They love you for that.
Well, no, and I was watching Mad Woman Muses, her channel, and they were talking about the new gun bill. And what really struck me is they want to lower it down to just 22 capacity bullets.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Is that for all rifles or just the scary black one?
Everything.
Okay, we hunt with a
wet dream.
Yeah, we hunt with a 308 around here to drop elk and bear. They're not going to take that 308 from me.
A 2.2's for a fucking rabbit, a squirrel.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to take. I'm not going to downgrade to a 22 from a 308 to go fucking elk hunting.
Oh, it's even worse because they want to take away the rights for a grandfather and everything in too.
Oh, so they want to do a Australia type gun seizure.
Yes.
That's yeah.
This is the wet dream. It's not good. That's why I said it's not going anywhere. It's never going to pass.
Well, weren't they talking about, like, rather than doing all this, why don't you just, like, offer, like, money for people to turn stuff in? So if they just want cash and they don't really care about having their
gun
extra guns
buybacks
around,
are a waste of money and time. Don't believe me? Take a look at Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, there was this one gun buyback. I don't remember where it was, but this guy was like, "Oh, a gun buyback? Okay." He just made like 4 or 5 homemade shotguns and took them in for $100 a piece, and he spent like $10 on each one to make a homemade shotgun. Yeah,
that's that's cash for clunkers.
Well, actually, making a shotgun is fairly easy. It would be pretty simple to do.
Yeah, it was only like 10 or 15 bucks a piece, and he got $100 for them. Like, that's a profit.
so you're saying we found an industry to capitalize on an incentive?
Well, no, it's just government funding, so you're only fucking yourself in the long run.
You could fuck other people too. I'm just saying, based upon that system.
Yes, but in a very diluted sense.
So what I'm hearing is MC says basically the amount of money, time, and personnel spent probably isn't really worth it.
No, because it doesn't get any more guns off the street. It's
Well,
totally
it gets
ineffective.
some.
No, it's still the same amount.
Well, but the thing is, but the thing is,
money, walk on over and buy a better weapon.
yes, but excuse me, is the issue about getting guns, or is it reducing the crime? You get rid of those guns, people cash in their guns. The people who cash in their guns are not the criminals, so it's not going to change the actual crime rate.
The theory
The people
is
who have the guns and wanted
speculation.
to use the guns have kept the guns.
They have less people to rob to get more guns.
Benefit.
Yeah, but they have more people to rob because they got the less people have guns.
There will still be guns.
See?
Well, what I don't understand is if they're doing a gun buyback at $100 a piece, right? Why isn't there a gun show a block away being like, "Hey, we'll give you $110 for them. Come over here," and then just resell them? I mean, come on now.
Why isn't it a bidding war?
Capitalism.
It should be an auction.
In order to buy guns, you got to have an FFL.
Not if you're buying them for personal use.
On a commercial basis like that, yes, you do.
Yeah, but that's
Even
fine.
if I'm keeping them all in my bunker, protecting myself from the Nazi penguins.
They will claim that it's a commercial venture, and therefore, I mean, and they would have a good claim on it to say that it's a commercial venture, and they could put a stop to it. Because if you're buying it on that kind of wholesale, you've got to be some kind of quote unquote business, right?
Fair enough.
Business license, you need that whole shebang. So it's not as easy. Anyway, guys, I've got to go. So it's time for supper, so I'm gonna let you guys go.
All right.
Okay, mate. Good speaking with you.
Later, man. Bye bye.
All right, Cabbage. You want to go back to Brexit, or should we wrap it up? It looks like half the panel left. So
well, yeah.
It's up to you.
No, I'm happy to wrap. Yeah, you wrap up, mate.
All right. Well, yeah, this has been the Redeye Stream number 90. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sucks I'm over here on my second channel, but I'm making real videos over on Mad Dodge Productions now. So check out both channels, please. And have a good night. We're out of here.